This video is going to be a salvage repair video. It's always been one of my hobbies or little tricks of the trade to dig tools out of the trash on job sites and then fix them. This particular tool here is completely destroyed. It got ran over by something or dropped. I don't think it's fixable. It feels smashed. I'm going to take them both apart, and essentially what I really want to do is take the head off of this Sawzall, the blade head, and attach it to this Sawzall, because this Sawzall here has a broken tip. This is a 12 amp Dewalt Sawzall. The cool thing about it is this is a rather pricey little unit. So if I can fix this thing, I just scored on a $150 Sawzall. And I dug both of these out of the trash at a job site. So if you see tools like this anywhere in the trash, oftentimes it's something as simple as the trigger. So what I do is dig them out and just keep stockpiling them until I got enough pieces to make one that works. These triggers, by the way, are worth about $25. Some of them are even more pricier than that. So you definitely want to snag these triggers up. Even on a broken Sawzall, this trigger alone is worth a lot of money. I think it's a PWM. I'm pretty sure it is. Some of them are, some of them aren't. Some of them are just full blast. And the first thing I'm going to do, of course, is hook a cord up to this and determine whether or not the motor is actually working. If that's the case, then I'm going to fix this thing. Okay, so I've been troubleshooting this motor for about a half hour. Unfortunately, I didn't get any of the footage of that, but basically what had happened was I thought the switch was burnt up, so I took it apart, and it was extremely dirty in there. So I thought maybe that had solved the problem. And one of the reasons why I put so much time into it was because when I initially plugged this up and pulled the trigger, I saw sparks at the commutator and the motor turned over a little bit, but then it stopped. Well, so basically it was an intermittent problem. Eventually, what I discovered was that right here where this pinch is at, which is gets pinched down right here by one of these little brackets, the frickin' wire was burnt. I'm going to cut this open and we're going to take a look at it. So if you have any problem with your tools, having intermittency problems and stuff like that, it may be a result of this. I'm going to chop this open and see what exactly is going on inside of there. But I thought it was the PWM trigger, and it was not. Well, actually it wasn't at the squish point. I was wrong, unless this just got moved. I highly doubt that, but I suppose it's possible. You can see there where for whatever reason the wire was burnt. Perhaps it just got pulled and stretched. I think maybe that's what happened there, because it was downstream of the connection point. So the connection point seems fine. A little mangled. I'm not so sure I like this tactic. I don't think I'll be reusing that thing that tight. But anyway, as I said, this trigger definitely needed cleaned out. So I did get that done. This thing should be working now. I'm going to go ahead and put this section back together with some solder and some heat shrink wrap. Then I'm going to start taking the front of this thing apart, and I'm going to take out the bad reciprocating rod. We're going to chop this end off, and we're going to chop the end off this Makita, and hopefully get a fixed Sawzall that's working. Okay, because during the troubleshoot I did not realize I had a faulty wire, I've got to solder this whole thing that I've chopped to pieces back together. And I'm going to do that real quick. But first, you don't want to forget your shrink wraps. Let's see here. Barely enough room to make that happen. So I'm going to solder these babies up. So they don't pull apart on me. I think I should have cut them both in half probably. Sometimes if you cut them in half and overlap them, you can put a piece on each side and keep it out of the way. You don't risk activating it during soldering. I don't have a soldering iron, so I'm going to be using a HHO torch. Just need some rosin core solder here. This little thing's awesome for solder jobs. This is a rosin core. I think this wire might have some varnish of some kind on it. I don't know for sure. It's not really wanting to take it very well. There it goes a little bit. Okay, I got several more here. Definitely going to be worth my time here if I get this thing working right. This is a $134 Sawzall. It was headed for the trash on the job site. I believe I got this off a hospital job. We were building like a 5-story hospital, and they were constantly throwing tools away that just needed minor repairs. Okay, that's all the wiring. Okay, so had a little bit of a nightmare going on with my shrink wrap there. Definitely gonna have to get a new kit. I ran out of the size I actually need. I thought I'd try that size out, and things did not work out so good. So now I am looking for smaller screws apparently. All right. Essentially that should work. That should fly. And we're gold. I just gotta make sure I don't get Makita screws on my Dewalt. I definitely gotta fix that heat. I've got a vacuum cleaner blower running my heat in here, so that's that odd noise you're hearing. Now, I just screwed this thing together without testing it, which is a bad idea. Never a good idea to put something back together until you've tested it. Okay, we're hot. Seems to me these PWMs simply have two settings. Low and then high. There is no in between. So although it may appear like a variable speed, it's really not. It just has two different speeds that blend into each other. Okay, so as soon as I find the rear case screws, we're in business. Okay, so I've got it all screwed back together. The front section here is a little loose. What I've got to do now is get this piece of rubber off of here. To do that, I need to remove the guard lever. I'm not sure how this comes off, but because I don't even have a guard, I'm about to use a hammer here any second. If something doesn't happen. Yeah. Don't really need it. That should allow this to pull up over that now. Man, that's a tough case. There we go, that's what I want to see. Ooh. What's up with the hole in my grease port there, man? That ain't cool. So what I need to do now is take this thing apart. It's a huge mess. Get that rod out of there. Oops. I have to take the back end apart again. Oh well. No biggie. I did just kind of glue it together though. Alright, so this thing. Very interesting mechanism in there. Look how that works. It's not what I thought it would be at all. I don't know if you can see that. Probably don't have a good enough lighting for you to see it. Fairly interesting mechanism. Got some kind of wobbling lobe on there. Check that out. I thought it would be like the piston in a car type deal. But it's not. So, anyway, regardless of all that, I need to get this shaft out of here. I'm not sure what would be the best way to go about that. Things seem to be pressed in there pretty good. I don't know what that is. It looks like an Allen bolt there. See if I can find some Allens. I don't know what this is going to do. But we're going to get this thing out of here. Probably just try messing with it right where I'm at. But I want to get a good weld on this thing. I want it to actually work for a $134 Sawzall. I think it'd be a good idea to go ahead and put in a little effort. Okay, here, where's the pry? Getting nothing. My mallet. I don't know. Nothing yet. What is holding? Ooh, what do we got here? Beating the crap out of the wrong guy. Alright, man. Make this happen. Let's try 12 millimeter. Missing some sockets here. Where the hell's my 13 at? It's not what that is at all. Unless I just need to lock that in place and get it loose. Probably going to be the case. So, it's probably going to end up breaking the mechanism. What's going to happen? There we go. Oh great, this has to come off to get it out. What a flippin' mess. Okay. Getting somewhere here. Need a pair of needle nose pliers. Ain't gonna need this spring anymore anyway, so I ain't trying to save it. At this point, my time is more valuable than anything here. Okay, what I should have did was try and figure out. I'll just put my own freaking guard on this thing. I'm not gonna get all particular here. Okay, so we got the shaft out of the Dewalt Sawzall, and what we're going to do now is remove the shaft from the Makita Sawzall, which has been run over or something, and then we're going to decide how we're going to connect the two. So let's get on that. I'm quite sure what's going to make this one want to come off. Looks like I need to remove this. I don't know why I didn't just do that from the get-go. Oh wow, that sucker's broke. Interesting. There's the plug to my Dewalt Sawzall, I think. Thought I'd seen a plug off on that. Okay. I'm gonna need to bust out some different tools maybe. Pull this off. Will be interesting to see the difference in the mechanisms between these two saws. Well, it has the very same mechanism. I don't know if you can see that. But by this thing wobbling, that's how they get their reciprocation. That's kind of cool, actually. I never would have thought that's how they pulled that off. You see how the angle's changing? Probably not holding it the proper angle to get a good vantage point. But yeah, that's kind of neat. Trying to get footage of it doing its thing there. There we go. Anyway, pretty weird, pretty ingenious. I always envisioned there being a reciprocation system similar to that in an engine with a crank, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But there is no crank in this thing. That's I don't know what you would call that. A swash plate? That's it. It is kind of a swash plate. Swash plate reciprocator. The one in the Dewalt is far more robust. It feels a lot better. This one here is, I don't know if you can see that. This one here has got a lot of grinding grit feeling to it, so it's been compromised, but definitely like this one a lot better. It's a lot beefier. So I'm gonna have to get this off, it looks like, to get the shaft out. See what we got here. Some bits. I don't know what I'm going to do about the bash guard yet on this thing. Probably just going to weld a bar sticking off the front of the Sawzall or something. I really don't care what it looks like. It's going to be a free Sawzall. 12 ampere, by the way, which is huge. I think most of them are like 7 amps. But so that's the piece we want right there. I'm half tempted to just cut that off right where it's at. Man, that's plastic there, so. Or I could just smash the casing with a hammer, bust it out of there. Maybe I'll give that a shot. That might be a bad idea. Yeah, I think I'll just cut through it. I'll just grab an angle grinder and chop that sucker right in half. So, see what we got here. Get the Metabo. See what we can do. Gotcha. Safety glasses. And we're off. Man, I'm gonna have a lot of editing to do on this deal. Wow, what a rip-off. You kidding me? It's a hollow axle. You can see right down that barrel. Weird. Maybe that'll pay off here. I'm about to find out. Where is the most important piece there is? Okay. So, I don't want that to interfere. It's almost as if I could just lop off some of that and do a weld to that. Let me give that a little cut. Alright, so total OSHA violation, by the way, right there. Running that there grinder with no guard. I can't run them with a guard. I don't know about you, but I hate to say it. They're more dangerous with the guard on sometimes, I feel, personally. I mean, yeah, you nick your fingers up a little bit here and there, but anyway, so almost looks like maybe I could just weld that bad boy on like that, but I need to consider sequence here. If I weld this on now, I'm screwed. You always got to think about the sequence of operation. You can't just go doing stuff. I need to put this Dewalt back together and then try to weld that on there. I'm thinking I'd have the room. There's a pinhole there. I could almost run a bolt through that and just have the thing bolted on there, if anything. I think the wisest move at this point would be to reassemble the Dewalt and try and work with it from there, because I can't weld this on afterwards, or beforehand, I mean, my bad. So let me get this thing thrown back together and we'll see what we can do from there. I don't think I'm going to bore you with that part of the process. Taking it apart is kind of like opening up a Christmas present, I get that, but putting it together tends to be a little boring. This is a look inside the Makita motor, by the way. Look at that little pulse width modulator, I guess you'd call that. What would you call that? A 555 timer or whatever those things are? That's a big chip right there. Big heavy duty chip. MOSFET. Maybe that's what it is. Is that a MOSFET? I think it is. The Makita windings are a lot smaller than the Dewalt. This is an 11 amp Makita. Or Milwaukee, my bad. I keep calling it a freaking Makita. So, pretty robust MOSFET right there. And I'm assuming they placed it there to take advantage of the cooling air, which is kind of smart. That's kind of smart, actually. I'm liking that. Okay, so here's what we've got here. Basically what it comes down to is these shafts are all hollow. And I suppose the reason they do that is to cut back on the inertia of the reciprocation action, which is kind of smart of them to do that. Probably makes it reciprocate a lot faster, not having to sling all that metal around like that. And since it's not an actual crankshaft type reciprocation, there's not really a flywheel. So yeah, I could see that. But anyway, I'm not going to do anything fancy to this, like clean it out and put new grease in it and all that. I'm just going to kind of throw it back together and pump it full of new grease. I've got 2 grease guns here. Maybe we can get one of them to work when I want it to. I don't know what it is with those things, but it seems like I can rarely get them to work. So I might be hammering some metal away on this thing too. Probably be a wise idea. Though, not hardly with the Chinese metal, Chinese pot metal, or as Abby would call it, Chinesium. That's a good one, I've got to admit. I don't care if that's a little crooked. Now, I'm going to have to make sure I ground this good. I don't want to be anywhere near that bushing. Grounding this thing's going to be a bit of a pain. I'm going to have to use wire. So I'm going to have to degrease that area. I'm going to have to run my welder on an extension cord over here too, unfortunately. Okay, try that. I'm going to try to get it straight here with eyeball. A little tack there. I got to turn my heater up here. One thing about triacs, if you're ever running something with a triac, you start welding or pulling high amperage, it'll shut the triac down. I got a blower running on a triac and looks like we're going to have problems. So, looks a little bent. I'm trying to give that a little tap. You know, it is just a Sawzall. However, I did recognize one problem that I just noticed. I'm going to be holding this thing at a really awkward angle. If I don't fix this situation now. I didn't align the shaft. So we got a bit of an issue here. I may have gotten lucky, but I highly doubt it. Let's look into this. See what we got here. Yeah, I think that's going to be a big no. Okay, so the blade's going to be slightly skewed. I believe that's the orientation. Well, I'm not off by too much. I got really lucky there, I want to say. Let me see here. Yeah, my blade's going to be slightly angled. Nothing changes in life sometimes, I swear. So there you go. Not bad though. I think I could live with that. With two angled blades. I think I can live with that. I'm not too worried about the blade being angled. Just that little bit. So I'm going to hook my ground back up. I'm going to finish the weld off. The reason I'm using these vice grips for the ground wire is because I want to reduce the possibility of arcing on that shaft as much as possible. I mean, that's running through a Babbitt sleeve bearing, whatever you want to call it. It's probably not a Babbitt bearing. I forget what they call that. There's a name for that kind of Babbitt material. It's a sleeve bearing essentially, but yeah, so there's different types of sleeve bearing materials, of course, but I had a name in mind. I don't know if it's phosphor bronze or something like that. A millwright told me one time what it's called in a power plant. They've got massive journal bearings on the turbines there. It's really cool when they take the hoods off them turbines. You get to see what it is that's powering the entire town. I think some of those turbines are like 1,000,000 horsepower or something crazy like that, which really ain't a lot when it comes to, when you look at that massive turbine in a power plant and you think to yourself, that's really not that big to be powering the whole city, but yet it does. I'm having way more difficulty than one should have doing this here. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's the gloves right in my way with that. Yeah, I couldn't have put that in the worst spot. So, all right, here we go. I'm ready to get this over with on the welding here. I'm just going to hold this tight. The hell with the phosphor bronze. I don't care anymore. Ooh, that did not sound good. Can't see a damn thing. Am I a welder? No. I don't want to start melting that head, that's for sure. I really got to hurry on this. Alright, I feel inclined to cool that plastic down a bit. I'm going to dump a little water over that plastic. Keep from losing it. I'm gonna wire brush that weld up. See where we are on that. I think this thing's about ready to roll with my 5-degree angled blade and all. That really kind of sucks I didn't think to do that. Didn't I just say something about sequencing? So that's pretty much what happens. When you ain't paying attention to what you're doing. I could have chopped it loose and made it right, but I'm not a perfectionist when it comes to things. You can't tell. If it works, I'm okay with it. I just want the thing to work. I don't want to turn this into an all-day project because after all, I'm trying to get some value out of this. I would almost say that that's not going to come off of there. I think I'm gonna give that a shot. Might need a little patch right there. I'll give it one more little hit. We'll see what happens with that. Maybe in 1 or 2 spots here. And then clean it up some. Can't see a damn thing with this mask. I think I'm about due for a new mask. Okay, second pass and we're out of here. Alright, I'm calling that done. Cool it off with water. I know the water's probably gonna make it brittle, but I really don't care. I don't want to melt this plastic actuator. So, calling that done. Man, are you serious over here? So I think I'm ready to put this thing back together now and then pack it full of grease. See what happens here. I think I got really lucky last time putting this back together. Something tells me that was luck. Uh-oh. Yeah. It ain't going right back together this time around. Okay, what we got here? Alright. I think we're in. Definitely gonna need some gloves on for this. This will about rip your hand off, so damn it. Got it. Hopefully that'll hold. But nonetheless, we're going somewhere in life. Oh wow. You talk about getting lucky. Look at that blade angle. It's only off by like 1 degree. I thought the blade was gonna be all cockeyed, like sticking out of there like this. That would have been a joke. So I got lucky on that. Should have been paying better attention during the alignment. I'm gonna put this blade in upside down. I often put the blade in upside down when I'm running a Sawzall at work so that I can get right up against the surface that way. versus this way you're all up at an angle. With it on upside down, you can get right down to it. So I'm going to re-grease this thing and hopefully be the new owner of a $134 Sawzall. I think I'm just going to take a tube of grease to it instead of sitting here pumping at a grease gun. We'll see what it does. This thing never works when I want it to. I don't know. So, I put an entire tube of grease in this thing. Which seems about right to me. I mean, that might not be near enough. Who knows? There's still quite a bit of grease in the front casing. I'm not going to bother washing that out. So, maybe I should clean some of this crap out of here. It's a little gunky looking. Yeah, hell with it. Clean grease with grease. So, the side port has a hole in it, which I don't like. I'm going to have to seal that off with a plug. Man, I don't know if that's enough grease in there or not. That may seem like a dumb question to some of you, but I don't know. I suppose it is. I just feel like there should be a little bit more than that. I'll go ahead and throw a little more in there. Because I don't want the grease to get hot and pool up and not touch the parts, because it may get hot and pool up down at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and squirt another huge amount of grease in this thing, just to be sure that it's going to have grease. That may be way too much in some people's eyes, but that's what I'm going with here. So here's the front case. Having some problems here. It's almost as if this shaft's sticking out too far, maybe. I might have to do some, oh yeah, there's an adjustment in the side here that I need to pay attention to, that I have neglected. Sorry, my welding helmet hit the camera. So I've got a bit of a problem here. Something's going on. Maybe that does stick out that far. There we go. We're gold. Other than the fact we're covered in grease, I'm just going to have to dive in. It's getting everywhere. So now, I've got the case taken back apart. I've got to take apart the brush assembly that I just about broke. That's the only way we can get this back together. And in my experience, once you loosen these things, they usually don't re-crimp very well. So I might have a problem with that on down the line. Might not be a bad idea to throw a little lava solder on that. Let me make sure this will go together like that. And no, it's not liking it. Once it on, that guy takes apart some high-end electronics. So high-end that he sells the pieces after he gets them apart, which is pretty cool. Okay. Oh man. She's got a rod knocking. Oh, I didn't adjust that thing inside. We're skipping a step. These two bolts here require some attention. I don't know if they just need tightened. It seemed as if there was an alignment of some kind there. I have the Allen wrench. Even if it does got a rod knocking, I think I'll deal with that. I'm gonna have to make some kind of plug, of course, for the this port here. I might put that rubber back on it. Then again, I might not. I kind of like the metal look. No idea. I can't see that shaft anymore. It's covered in grease. So I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. It stopped the rod knocking. Sounds like a $134 Sawzall to me. Straight out of the trash. Can't beat that. I love trash tools. I found a weed eater in the trash one time and a leaf blower. The leaf blower was almost brand new and the guy just didn't know how to start it, because they are incredibly hard to start if you don't know how to start two-cycle engines. Alright, we'll throw a blade. Yeah, she's got a little crook to her. Not much, not much. It's looking good there. I mean, we've all seen Sawzalls cut and stuff. I don't know about the 12 ampere though. Maybe I'll do a quick wood cut comparison to show the difference of a 12 amp Sawzall cut and a piece of 2x4 and a piece of crap Harbor Freight Sawzall. That ought to be cool. Okay, so I had to weld this bracket up real quick because it was broke on the side, so we're going to try and hook it on using two systems. We're going to bolt it on with a bolt. I might even try a couple of self-tappers and some JB weld. Problem with the self-tappers is this is some pretty rough metal. I'm going to put this on backwards so it accommodates this particular saw. Ooh, she's hot. And try to get a bolt to line up with that, and then drill a self-tapper through that other section there. So, don't have any lock washers. I may not even have the bolt I need. I'm never prepared for this kind of stuff. Yeah, this is like a 60-mile long bolt I'm gonna need. It's not gonna fit through there. That'll work if I can bore this out. Just gotta drill a bigger hole around that. So, I might be forcing that hot sucker. See what we can do here. I'm almost half tempted to just grab a couple of self-tappers. In retrospect, I really wish I would have done that before. Sorry about that, I ran out of data. I'm gonna have to get a better camera apparently. This is what we've got. Our Mad Max version of Dewalt, the Milwaukee series. I believe we were at 11 seconds on the 6 amp Sawzall, so we're going to do a quick test comparison. I'm going to cut right through this 2x4. I'm going to do my best to avoid any knots in the wood. And I'm going to skew the test. Now that I have a guard on this, it should perform a little better than in the first test. So here we go. Maybe not much better. Now that is not typically how I would run a Sawzall. I actually put a little momentum in it. That's what I do at work. I don't need no guard, but I put one on there anyway. 134 bucks out of the trash. It took longer to edit this damn video than it did to fix this Sawzall up, so hopefully I make a couple bucks on that. Okay, so we're gonna run the test on the Tool Shop Harbor Freight Special here. This is a 6 amp Sawzall, but I'm gonna do a video that actually tests the current draw of certain tools. And this baby's already coming apart on me. But essentially what it comes down to is a lot of tools don't draw the actual amount of current that they depict on their paneling. So here we go. Try one more of those. Fast cut maybe. Well, there you go. 6 amp versus 12 amp. Upcoming video. What is the actual current draw of your tools?